Okay, thank you.
All right, so we are recording now, so don't say anything about any boss men or anything. All right, hey, well, thank you guys for joining us. I know I've been talking with Johnson and Dr. Latu, and we've got 2 of these Compumedics on-site units coming your way here pretty soon. We do not officially have an order yet, just so you know, but it is in process, and you'll have 2 of these devices coming your way for ambulatory with video, or as I like to call it now, epilepsy monitoring in the home is probably a better way to describe this. So have y'all done some ambulatory in the past? And Norma, you can say something if Grace.
They have done them over at the hospital out of the EMU. They would hook them up there, send them home.
Okay, perfect.
But this will be new at UTPB, but Grace has had experience with ambulatory from across the street because she came from the EMU.
Okay, perfect. So that's the main thing. I just want to make sure that everybody's not 100% starting from scratch. So I know you probably haven't used Compumedics equipment before as far as for this, but we are, we released this device about a year ago. Everything has changed significantly with the ambulatory market, and good for us because Compumedics has all the monitoring that we need to handle it. We've got plenty of channels. We've got all we can handle any of the requirements that moving forward with the ambulatory world. So what my goal is today is to just give you guys a refresher or a preliminary training. Okay, I want to show you the device, kind of show you how it hooks up to the patient, show you the complete package that's you'll have to basically send home with the patient. Because to my knowledge, you're going to hook these up in the office and then send them home with the patient. Is that correct?
Yes. Is there a way to do like a baseline study before the patient leaves? Like hyperventilation, photic, eyes open, eyes closed, that type of thing?
Right. So there's a couple of ways that I see this used. You can do a complete, like I'm going to call it a routine EEG before they leave. Then stop that study and start a new one, or you can just continue on with that same study and just label it slightly different.
Okay.
So, just depending on what you want to do, I believe we can. I haven't run into a scenario yet that we couldn't handle. So.
Okay, I'll ask Dr. Latu. He probably will have us stop and restart.
Right.
But I'll ask him what he would like.
Typically, what I see that way, you have, basically two different studies. So,
yeah, for insurance purposes, that's sometimes important for a long-term study.
Right. So either way, we can handle all of that. I know on the original purchase, there will be 2 cameras per unit. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to be deployed. If you are sending these units home with a patient, that becomes a little more difficult because the patient will have to set up a second camera. So that's just something we'll have to talk about. But just so you do know, there are 2 cameras per unit that'll be coming with. So we'll just have to talk with Johnson and let Dr. Latu and see how that's all going to work out. Okay. So basically, we've got a couple of different components here. Okay. We've got the recorder itself. Okay, which is all in a pouch, and I'm going to take this out here shortly just so you can see all the little components. But just know that this is 100% untethered. So once you hook the patient up and you send them home, this just goes over the shoulder or around the waist in a fanny pack, and it transmits wirelessly back to the base unit so that they can record, and the patient is basically untethered. So they're free to roam. You can go to the store or something like that if they want to. Okay. I'll take this out in just a second, but the base unit itself is basically all in a large, I'll say a large case, kind of a medium-sized suitcase. This, for your reference, this is a little bit smaller than a carry-on bag that you put in the overhead on an airplane. So it's about that size. And inside there's components with a computer and some electronics in there for data transmission. The top left, that's your camera. So if you look at it, it almost looks like a little baseball bat sitting on top of a baseball sitting on top of a tee. That little pole goes up and down, and it can go up to like 6 feet. So when the patient gets to the house, all they have to do is raise that camera up and point it to the living room, and they're done. Okay.
Okay. They move it manually with their hands?
Yeah, they'll have to move it manually with their hands. So
and they won't break it.
No, I mean, it's pretty robust. I mean, anything can be broken.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, but
Okay.
there has to be some reasonable amount of care. But this camera will go up, and it'll go out of range of the camera, out of my camera here, but it goes up. So what I recommend is when the patient gets this case home, they set it up in the living room. They set it up in the living room, and they put it in a corner, and it will view the whole living room. Okay. Or
Okay.
wherever they typically stay. That's typically where they're okay. On top here, this is just a little setup screen, and I just have this on here just so you can see. We've got a couple of different options for you when we set these up in the clinic. This is a little monitor. Typically, it would not go home with the patient, so this is not going to be part of it, but it just snaps. It snaps on and off, so you can use it in the clinic for setup.
Okay.
You can see the way type thing. Now, I know that you cannot see the waveforms on that screen right now on this camera, the way I'm viewing it, but I will share my screen here shortly, and you'll be able to see the software and see exactly how we set up a patient with software.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a good overview of what things kind of look like. On the side of the case, there are 4 or 5 different little ports. 2 of them are USBs. So if you have a little external keyboard, you want to put that in there, that's fine. In this case, I've got a little wireless keyboard. And this is what it's going to come with, a little wireless keyboard as well, and a mouse. So, but there's some other options as far as, you know, how you utilize it. So, and I've talked with Johnson about this, but it's going to come with a mouse and a keyboard. That's what you're going to use from the get-go. If we decide to go a different route later, we can do some of that as well.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and open the case just so you can see that there are some components in there. I don't know that it's necessarily, you know, beneficial to go through every little thing, but just so you see, you know, if something, you know, the ambulatory world is a ruthless market. It's a really, really hard place to keep devices working, you know, because they move around a lot, that type of thing. So eventually you will have to troubleshoot something. It's just the nature of the beast. But what's cool about this is you've got a single computer in here. And I know it's a little bit hard to see, but this is a solid state machine or a solid state computer. It's got an internal fan for cooling. So if you've done some ambulatory in the past with a laptop computer or something like using a laptop computer in a case, everything on the market today gets hot, especially in Texas, right? This has an internal cooling fan that takes care of it, okay? Nowadays with COVID-19, you know, everybody's worst nightmare seems like. This is a hard case, so it's very, very easy to keep clean. You don't have to worry about fabric getting any viruses or anything like that on, or you have to worry about it less is probably a better way to describe that. You have internal battery backup, which is another little device. Everything's well labeled. Everything is strapped down with zip ties internally. So there is going to be some wear and tear, obviously going in and out of cars and stuff, a little bit of shock therapy, so to speak. So we do our best to keep all of that stuff rigid inside, so it literally can't come unplugged or it can't come loose. Okay. There's a built-in surge protector as well. So when the patient gets this home, they'll basically plug it into the wall. If they have a lightning strike or something, you don't have to really worry about that. There is surge protection built into the device.
Okay. And that case locks,
yeah.
so the patient
Yes.
can open it at home?
It's 100% optional for you guys. It's got built in, it has 2 latches, which you can kind of see that on the video. If you want to lock it, lock it, once you get it closed, there's a little hole right here, okay? And you can put a lock on that, or my recommendation is to just use a good zip tie. That way, if you forget a key or something like that, you don't have to worry about locks. You can just cut the zip tie. So, and that'll deter 99% of patients from any kind of tampering.
Okay.
You get that 1% of patient that's going to tamper, you know, they're going to destroy the whole thing because something's not right. So,
okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's got a nice carrying handle here on the side. It's also got a carrying handle up here on the top, so you can wheel it just like you would a carry-on on the bag or on the airplane. And when you take this little screen off, that's what you see. Okay, and this actually goes up and down as well. So that can go up and down. It's pretty easy for a patient to move that in and out of their car or in and out of their vehicle.
Yeah.
Now I've got some little magnets on here. That's why this kind of snaps on and off. As you start to use this, if you like these, then we can put those on yours as well. We'll just see how that works out.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I typically see like in your scenario, if you're going to hook these patients up in a lab, in a dedicated space, it's probably better if you just have a dedicated external monitor that sits there, and then you plug that monitor into here every time you use it. That way you've got a large screen, and that makes a little more sense. We do this screen just because it's really portable, and a lot of different groups will take these devices to the patient's home and hook them up there. That way they've got a real small little monitor. They don't want to be carrying around a 24-inch monitor with them.
Okay.
So we'll see how this all works out once you get them in the lab, and then I'm sure this next to monitor. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you the recorder itself, and show you how that hooks up, and show you the batteries, kind of explain a little bit of that. Now, this unit, it has basically two different battery mechanisms, okay? It's got 4 internal AA batteries, okay, which if you just use those, it will run about 24, maybe 36 hours, okay? In order to get 72 hours out of this, we have to put an external battery pack in. Now, it's all inclusive, all in this little case, so it's not real big and it's not real heavy, but it is a separate battery pack. And I'll just show you that real quick. This just unzips. And there's a separate little battery pack right here. Okay? It's got one little wire that hooks in, and this is rechargeable. So it comes with a recharge, recharger, just like you'd recharge anything else. And right now it's plugged into the unit, so the little light's on. If it was not plugged into the main recording device, this little light would not be. Okay.
Okay.
We can go more.
Now, does the patient have to do anything to switch batteries at a certain point, or it's just they go home and everything's set?
Absolutely not. This is just 100% for your information. The patient, unless there's some crazy scenario, the patient doesn't have to tamper with anything, which is
great. Okay.
Unless you want the patients to change batteries, I'm sure.
No, we don't want them to.
Absolutely. No, that's one of the reasons we chose, this battery pack will run just by itself about 72 hours. Okay. Internal batteries in the device are just kind of as a backup mode.
Oh, so they just serve as backup. The whole thing will run off of here, the whole 72.
Especially like anything else, when the battery is new and young, it will last that 72 hours. Over time, it will lose some of its pizzazz, but that takes a year, or hundreds of studies.
Okay. So if the study were to go over 72 hours, then do those backup batteries kick in? Does it keep running?
They kick in automatically. Mm-hmm.
So it could go 80, 86. It could go longer.
It can go
until the patient gets. Okay, great.
It can go a lot longer than that. And we can change settings in the device to even increase that even more. We pick a kind of a happy medium on battery life, which is well over 72 hours. But now, do y'all plan on doing longer term recordings than 72?
I think I don't think the plan is to do that, but sometimes you run into situations where a patient can't make it in that day, and then they had a seizure that night. Right after how it goes. As soon as you think you're done with the study, that's when the thing you were waiting for happens. So it's nice that it will keep recording.
So it will, so no problem at all. All right, so that's the battery pack, and then the recording device itself. I'm gonna slide this out. Now it's in a little bit of a pouch on its own, so it's a pouch within a pouch, so to speak. So here's the device itself, okay? And this just unzips, and the recorder is inside, okay? So the recorder itself is about the size of the palm of your hand, so pretty small. And then the batteries internally are right here in the back. This little pack or this little back will unfold, okay, or pops off, and there's 4 AA's inside. I'm gonna move this a little closer to the camera just so you can see this. So I may have
Okay.
sometimes the camera doesn't like to focus right away, so we'll try to trick it a little bit here. Okay, that's probably not going to focus exactly right, but I'm still working with doing this and getting everything to focus right. But just so you can see, there's these little pods in here. So here's where your electrodes are going to plug in.
Okay.
So
Okay.
do a standard 21 channel EEG with an ECG as well. Everything plugs in here just like a normal EEG does. And what's really nice is once you run those leads out of the device, we have this little sheath. And this unzips and all your wires go through the sheath and then it clips to the back of the shirt or the collar.
Okay. Okay.
Kind of makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really, really nice feature of this device. So, you know, it's designed for the ambulatory world. It works really well. Technicians really, really like this sheath. And I know now, you know, with COVID, cleanliness and such is going to be a little more of an issue. So we need to make sure that, you know, I'll need to talk to Johnson, but we probably need to order a couple of extra of these because they need to be laundered and disinfected because this will have patient contact. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this just folds back on. Okay. Zips together, the sheath is coming out, and then slides into the pouch. And then it all zips up. There's one little extra little wire that they made just a little bit too long. So everything zips up real nice, got the sheath coming out to the wires. And there will be, this is a fanny pack type of thing with a kind of a short strap, but yours will also have a shoulder harness on it as well. So you can choose it either way. You can use it as a fanny pack, or you can use it as a shoulder harness. The shoulder harness will be attached here. Okay, I just haven't had a chance.
Okay.
Now, as far as once you have the patient there, you hook them up or you start your hookup. I'm not sure what your procedure is on that. What I typically see is you actually start the recording, or at least view the recording before you even start hooking them up. That way you have a liability video, actually video and everything. So do you see yourself doing that, or do you see yourself hooking them up and then starting the recording?
I don't.
You don't know?
I don't know, Grace. How do you feel, Grace?
Now we're putting her on the spot. She's got to type.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think she's saying hook them up and then start. Is that what you're saying, Grace?
either way is fine. I just want to bring it to your attention that you can do one or the other or both. So it just depends. Depends how you do it. It's flexible. So, what I typically see, especially nowadays with liability or whatever, the whole thing typically wants to be videoed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and set the recording down, or set the recorder down. I'm going to share my screen so that way you can see what is on. I'm going to show you what's on the screen of the device itself. Okay. And I'm going to start a recording.
Okay. Oh, Grace is saying both videotape the hookup is better. So
perfect. So what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen, and it's going to be the desktop of the actual unit itself. Okay.
That's good, Grace, because for liability issues, you'll have your instructions that you gave the patient on tape.
All right. Now you should be able to hear me still, but I don't know that you can. I don't think you can still see me. Can you?
Just in the little window.
Oh, okay. Just in the little window. Okay. I'm going to be really close to the camera.
Fine.
So what I'm going to do, I've got a recording running right now. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording and then start a new one just so you can see the interface. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now let me, there we go. So basically when you turn the unit on, or you're in you've got a patient that's coming in, you turn the unit on, you have access to some type of monitor, whether it's the small one or the little small, or a larger monitor. You launch this like you do any other EEG study, okay? You start the software, and in here we just have two pieces of software. You've got Perfusion EEG, which is the data collection software, and then you have this little Perfusion control center, and this is what you use to move data around off the system and onto another network or something like that. So for now, we'll just go ahead and click here, and we'll start a study. Now it immediately goes into the little patient setup screen. Give me a second, I'll put my glasses on so I don't click something wrong. So immediately goes into the setup screen. And the two things you definitely need are a last name or surname in our case, and then a reference number. Now, what reference system do y'all use for the number? Is it social, or is it medical record number, or what do y'all know which y'all use?
They use MRN.
They have a dedicated MRN? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You use if you want to continue to use that, we'll just use the MRN number, okay, in whatever format that you need. And if you look down here towards the bottom, you see this recording device. This is basically the recorder itself. So if for some reason you turn the unit on and this doesn't show up, that means that it's not communicating to the recorder, okay? And so most of the time it's because you didn't turn the recorder on. So there's a small button in the front. You just have to turn that on. I neglected to show you that a second ago.
Okay. There will be manuals that come with.
Oh yeah, there'll be manuals. There's going to be, we're going to, if this video turns out good, then we'll share this video with you as well. And I'm in process of doing some more really dedicated videos for this as well. So.
Okay.
So you select the device, which is always going to be the same thing. You don't really typically need a montage sequence, but this is a routine EEG system or software, so you can set sequencing if you really do want them. And then here's the big critical thing. Where do you want to store the data on? There's two methods. One, there's a data card in the unit, so you always want that for sure. And then the PC hard disk as well. That way it stores it in two locations. The device memory card is kind of a backup. And then you want to turn your video on. And this is all, just so you know, you don't have to change this every time. It's going to default back to the last thing that you used. So typically you don't really have to change this. It's just good to double check. So once you've double checked, you click create study.
So does the memory card fill up, or does it automatically overwrite?
It's going to automatically overwrite.
And how much data does it store? Just one patient at a time?
It just stores one patient at a time. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So typically, in a typical scenario, you're going to record 72 hours worth of data. Okay. And then that study is going to come back. Okay. And then it's probably when you stop the study, it's going to ask you, hey, do you have some lost packets, which basically means that the patient went out of range. Maybe they went down to the mailbox or something like that where they were out of wireless range. That means that the data card has that extra information on it. So there's a process to marry that data back together.
Okay.
Which, I don't know that we need to go into that today, but there is a process for that. All right, so once you see data scrolling, you've got your video up. It's a nice day outside, so you can see there's some sunshine and nice trees in the backyard there. We'll go ahead and click record. And it says now, okay, this device has a memory card that's in here and it's got a study on it. Do you want to overwrite it? And in our case, we'll say yes. Because at this point, you know that you've replaced those lost packets or you've married that data back together, or some people call it fetching, whatever you want to call it. And you just say yes, and it's going to overwrite that data. And this card that's in here will do 3 days and 20 hours. And we can have larger.
Okay.
This is just the card itself. You can have larger cards as well if you need them. We'll say okay. So now we're recording. Now, in your case, you probably want to go ahead and start the recording just like we did, and then you'll either start your hookup, you know, or however your process goes. So let's just say we start the recording, and now it's time to do an impedance check. Here's your impedance right here at the top. You just click on impedance. Oop. I accidentally double clicked it, sorry. I'm going to move this video for just a second. All right, so on the impedance check, this is really nice because you can have this monitor set up, you know, one corner of the room, and your patient can be, you know, a few feet away, and then you can still see your actual impedances as you get them. So these are the real numbers on the and then they're color coded as well. So if you look down here on the bottom right, there's a threshold. Do y'all use 7 or 10 for your threshold?
For impedances, we use 5.
Okay, so you've used 5, okay.
Yeah.
So in your case, we put 5 and enter. So basically anything greater than 5 is gonna show up in red, and anything less than 5 will use this color palette here on the right. So orange to yellow to green to blue. So,
okay.
And that means you're really good. So, all right. So once you do your impedance test, we can save this if you like, which it actually will. It actually auto saves.
Yeah, we'll need to save it.
Right. So it'll auto save that. And then you turn your impedance off, and keep any of these buttons that you see, they're just toggle switches. They're on and off. So we'll click.
Okay.
And I'll go through some of the software buttons as well, but just to give you a quick, you know, down and dirty on how to start a study. That's basically it right there. Okay. So once the study started, you close the case, give the patient some instructions, and send them home. So now, are you guys going to, or what is your protocol going to be for monitoring this? Because nowadays it's a requirement to actually monitor this in the home. Have y'all talked about that at all?
So yeah, we have not worked out what it will be yet. As far as I know, I mean, I haven't been in on all the meetings, obviously.
Okay.
So I don't know what, you know, I don't know what that plan is.
That's fine. So I'll talk with Johnson more about that in the coming days and weeks. And I've seen this in several different scenarios. So, you know, the bottom line is we'll create some mechanism for you guys to log into for the for monitoring. And once you have the access to the data, which basically this is what you'd see, then you can go in and you can actually go and page back. So I can click here on page back, and you can see any data. I'm going to change this trace tool here. Give me 1 second. These flat lines don't display well, right? All right. So here on the left is page back. So this is previously recorded data. And then the right is recorded data, or the actual data that's being recorded currently. Okay. So you can actually,
you can annotate as the patient's acquiring.
Absolutely. So you can annotate like you would in a routine EEG or an epilepsy monitoring, or you can page back and annotate on the area later or earlier in the study as well. So either of those is fine. And you can even go in and mark this, you know, for physician review at this point as well. I think most of the marking or pruning and such will be handled afterwards. But just do keep in mind that you can do it if you need to, you can do it real time. Okay.
Okay.
So page back again just toggles that on and off. So we'll click that, and now you're back to real time. Change that scale one more time. So now you're real time. And if you want the video to pop back, if you look here on the right-hand side, there's two little, like yellow little tabs. If you hold your cursor over it, that brings the video back, okay? And you can pin that. If you look, there's a little auto hide little clip here at the top. If you pin it, then the video stays active all the time. If you unpin it, then it kind of hides it off to the right.
Okay.
Any event, if you want to add an event, you just click on the event button, and the patient will have an event button as well. So that if they do have some type of event, all they have to do is push the button, and you'll see that on screen as well.
Okay.
One of the really cool features I like, and it's not so much when you're recording on a longer term after you've started the long-term study, but when you're doing your hookup, there's this little quick annotate bar. So you can go ahead and do all of your biocals and just click, 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 and mark all those biocals right away.
Is there a free text option?
Oh, absolutely. If you just want a free text option, all you have to do is start typing.
Where did you do that?
I just hit the keyboard.
Oh, you just hit the keyboard and it came up.
Yep.
So if she wanted to have the patient hyperventilate, she could just
start
typing hyperventilate.
All you have to do is start typing. So, if you want, you can add additional quick annotate, things in there as well. But
so this is customizable.
Oh, 100% customizable.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, we call it quick annotate just because it's kind of high and center and you can see it continually.
Yeah.
The other annotation feature you have to click on insert.
Pull it up. Yeah.
So this is really nice for mainly during the setup time and possibly even takedown time. And then you can close that out when you're done. If you do need to run a cal, you can click on calibration, and that'll show you all your individual.
Oh, there's a hyperventilation there. I didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah, if you in most ambulatories you don't run a true hyperventilation sequence, but if you guys plan on doing that, then this is the same software we use for routine and epilepsy monitoring. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on the hypervent mode. And you can actually start a timer and do all your hyperventilation such as well. So you can start your timer and then stop it.
You can click your effort.
Yeah, so you can do your corporation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oops. So you just do fair, good, or whatever. Okay.
Awesome. What about photic?
So yeah, we do have photic. I'd have to look back. I don't think that the photic. I don't think any photics were purchased. I'd have to double check.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. They must have made a decision.
Do what now?
Right. I said there must have been a discussion.
Yeah, we talked about it, but at the time, I don't remember talking a whole lot about you guys using this as a true, in-lab EEG routine system. So I don't think, I know there's not photics on. So, but if they
may be planning on just doing a routine EEG on the NK system, and they may not use this for this. I just asking because I don't know. Right.
So just so you do know, photic, this system is compatible with a photic. Okay. It's plug and play. It basically plugs right into the side of the unit and runs. So if you were to have a photic and you want to do a photic run, you just click photic, and then
it's all there.
Yeah, and these are the default frequencies and times and such, and this is 100% customizable. So this is probably good enough for 90% of people. But if you want to customize these times and frequencies, then that's fine. So you just click play, and then it runs the photic sequence automatically. So I'll bring that, I'll bring the photic up to Johnson next time I talk to him. And again, some of this protocol really hasn't been, I know it's not set in stone, because this process is going to be kind of new to everybody.
Yes.
As far as on y'all's end. So, but we've got a lot of flexibility, so we'll figure it all out. we're winging some of it. COVID-19 didn't help matters, that's for sure.
Not much, no.
So anyway, so that's pretty much, I mean, that's the software, the data collection software, in a nutshell. Whenever the patient comes back, all you basically have to do is launch the desktop again and go here to this little X.
Okay.
And say stop recording, and you will say.
Okay.
Now, if there were what we call lost packets somewhere in there, what was that? Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay. If there were some lost packets, it would tell you there are lost packets. Do you want to replace them now? And you just typically would say no, and then we put the data card into the system and upload them manually. So, which takes that's about a 2-minute process.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually assume that this study has been, it's been collected. You brought it back, and then we're going to move it somewhere else. And I'll just show you quickly how that would work. So at this point, you would open up this little study manager. That was a little fast. You'd open up this perfusion study manager, and you would move that study to a dedicated device or machine or something like that. And that's a little bit up in the air on exactly how that's going to operate, but we'll just have to discuss that moving forward. So this little tool basically says, okay, this little area at the top is the studies that are on here. This is the one that we just did, 723-405. It's just a few minutes long. And then this bottom section is where we're going to send it to, okay? So we would just go either onto the network or to the USB drive or whatever. Right now, there's nothing hooked up to here, so we'll just select another. We'll just select another directory. So we just select the one that we want. We say, here's the source, here's where we're sending it to, and we tell it to copy. And again, this process right here, depending on the network speed, whether it's going to a cloud thing or if it's just local, this happened so fast you didn't even see it happen for the most part.
Yeah, it was quick.
Right, but that was just a few minutes study. So that's just going to vary. Another option is to go ahead and just put the study itself onto a external hard drive. That way you don't have to worry about actually this computer being hooked up to a network and worrying about that. You just plug an external hard drive into it and put it onto the hard drive and then upload it later. In my opinion, that's a much easier, more understandable way of doing things. So,
okay.
But
do you have an example of what the software will look like on a computer, like in a reading room, where a doctor is going to pull it up and open it once it's on the server?
Absolutely. So that was my next step. I'm going to go ahead and show you that as well.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, but I don't have to. No, joking. Since you cut me off, I'm not going to. All right.
Sorry.
That's okay. So the doctor is basically going to launch the same program. Okay. We just have one program, and it kind of handles everything. The difference is he on the top left here, he will be in the review mode. Okay. So when it's in review, he will go to open, and you have to show where we are. Here's the study that we just collected.
Okay.
So that in a nutshell is how he opens that. Now, typically, the physician is not going to open a study until it's been marked or pruned or whatever y'all call your process. So typically what he's going to do is he's going to launch the study, and then he's going to go to this little area, which I call go to. okay, or we call go-to. And this is all of the things that have been done to the study. So whether it's, you guys have some Persist software that's coming with it as well. So some of these, or all of these studies will have a Persist analysis run on them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's Persist on here. We'll have to decide how exactly that's, where that license is going to reside. But you will have Persist on here. So typically the doctor is going to only want to see the things that you've marked as being areas of interest. So he will go down here to the bottom, at least the first time, and say change. And he only wants to see the bookmarks. And then he also wants to see, I'm going to call them kept EEG and kept video areas, and then probably some of the Persist stuff. Now, and there you go. I didn't mark anything, so that didn't work. So if we were to have marked something, let me just, I'm just going to mark a couple of things here real quick, just to, so something shows up in there.
So when the fellow opens it, they'll do what you're doing on the right side here.
That is correct.
When the doctor goes to read and sign off, he'll do what's on the left side.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that may vary some, but we'll, we just have to work through some of that. So again, here's the, after I marked a few of those things, I filtered it, and now here's those little areas. And then he can just click, 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 and go to those areas of interest as hyperlinks. So at this point, the record is 100% still intact. So, but from my experience, most doctors don't technically want to look through all of the data. They just want to see the areas of interest. So they just click, 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 see that. And then if they want to dictate to some type of reporting mechanism, or you guys can use our reports as well. We haven't really talked that much about that part of the plan. But we have a reporting mechanism that can be built in, or they can just utilize whatever they're doing now for reporting.
Okay.
So once you're off the go-to, as a technician that is logged in, all you have to do is sweep across areas of interest and mark them in some way. You can either just call them a bookmark, or you can tell it to keep EEG and video. In my opinion, if you say keep EEG and video, that's the best thing, just because at the end of the recording, the doctor's looked at everything. If he agrees with everything that you've done, then you can purge all of that other data. And because it's already marked, you don't have to remark it. But there's other ways of doing that too. So just depends.
Okay. If they want to export a sample of the EEG, like a page that shows an EEG waveform of interest,
yep.
Can they export that like into their report?
Yeah, so there's two things they can do. They can either, they can tell it to tag for report, and you can still see my screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the easiest thing to do is have them sweep it, re-sweep it, and say tag for report. Now, keep in mind, in order for this to work, they will have to use our reporting mechanism.
Okay. If they wanted to use a different, then how would they export it?
Yeah, so if they want to use something different, then they will still do the same thing. They will sweep across, and you can export some of this. Hang on. Export this. So you can export that as
okay. Oh, okay. But I mean like as an image to put into a report.
Okay, so as a, yeah. I'm sorry. I think you can.
I guess they could always use a snipping tool.
Yeah, there's a
single page.
Okay, so yeah, you can copy that to the clipboard. You can say copy to clipboard and then paste it into a report.
Okay. Okay.
Then that's under the tools menu. Then copy to clipboard.
Okay.
And then you can also send the links to PowerPoints and that type of thing too. And if you,
okay.
if you have doctors, I mean, you guys are a teacher, are part of a, you are a teaching institution. So that's probably this is a realistic thing that you'll be doing a lot of this. They likely may already have some type of screen capture tools. If they do, then we're compatible with any of that. My favorite is a product called Snagit. To me, that's the easiest one to use. So,
yeah.
So if they already have something that's integrated into their, into their process, then you just use that. That's easier probably.
Okay.
So, I mean, that is pretty much as far as, basic preliminary training. The software is going to operate a lot like a lot of other systems do. Page up, page down, typically take you through the record. You can use the up, downs, and side arrows to scale things. You can use the wheel on the, I'm just using the wheel on the mouse to scroll. You can also play, or if you want to pop up the video, you can pop up the video.
And can you remontage in review?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So if you look here on the left-hand side, this little drop down, these are the preset montages, and you can have as many as you want. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to go in, just so you can kind of see that, if you click here on montages, this is where you can change.
That's where we build. Okay, great.
If you want to add additional ones or change existing ones, that's where you go.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, once we get in there and we really do we'll have a technician that actually does your training. I'm technically the salesperson. I know the software, 95%, but those guys know it even better. So that's going to be our goal to get you guys going with the recordings and then get you real training from one of our main technicians, moving forward. Okay. And we actually have a couple of guys there in Houston. So hopefully it'll be live. We'll see how the requirements. Do you know, like now, can representatives still come into y'all's building over there? Do you know?
Grace, I'm not in her building.
Because she's in the hospital, right?
She's at UTPB. I'm at UT, a medical school building. She's at the professional building, and then the hospital's a third entity. It's like a triad of entities that cooperate together for epilepsy.
I see. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share or stop the screen sharing at this point, and we'll go back to the live video. So do y'all have any additional questions? I mean, again, we can do as many more of these as you guys want in the future. This is just a preliminary, just to kind of get your feet wet and learn a little bit about the unit itself. And then hopefully we'll have the real units there in 2-3 weeks. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to be placed.
One of the other things that Dr. Latu wanted us to nail down was what type of cleaning solutions we need, and to set up an order flow for supplies and things.
Okay.
So like part numbers and.
Okay, that's fine. Well, so
the vendor.
Yeah. So I know that UT. I'm trying to remember what the entity name is that the order comes in. It's something different than, on the purchasing side, it's a little different. So what I'll do is I'll put some kind of list together. Are you guys going to use disposable electrodes? I think that's probably the big deal as far as supplies go. I mean,
I don't know. I really don't know. Cost-wise, how does it?
Anytime you do disposable, it's going to be a little more expensive, but you can't take that risk anymore. We're seeing sleep labs go to disposables, EEG labs are going to disposables. Pretty much everybody is. So,
Grace says at the hospital they use their for their ambulatories at the hospital disposable.
So you do.
So probably.
Okay. So yeah. Yes. So, and then I'll get some kind of recommendation for you as well.
Okay.
We'll have that to you in writing. Just give me a few days on that. So.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever supplies that she will be using on a regular basis to hook and clean, and if there's a certain scrub that she needs to use or application, adhesive or any of that.
Right. Okay. Well, I will put that together and then get that out to, I think I've got all y'all's emails now too. Would that be sending that to you, or does that have to go through Johnson, or how does that work?
Grace, would you mind emailing Cynthia's email address? And you can communicate with Grace and Cynthia. Cynthia is the manager of the lab over there.
Okay. Well, then, and hopefully I can get over there and we can meet face to face too. You know, everything's so different now. It's a lot of regulation.
Yeah.
May or may not.
Yeah.
We'll everybody will figure.
Yeah, but we'll make sure you get Cynthia's email address just to make sure all the vendor stuff is set up straight.
Sounds perfect. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. I think we're pretty much done.
Okay.